Welcome back to a news bulletin. The Taliban claim they have killed 150 Afghan soldiers in a car bomb attack on a military center in southern Helmand province. In a statement, the group spokesperson said dozens were also wounded in the attack. The spokesperson said the military center has been completely destroyed in the ambush, but Helmand governor's spokesman says only 5 security officials were killed in the attack. The spokesman said 5 other personnel were wounded in the attack in Nahr-e-Siraj district. The hostilities between the fighters and Afghan forces are a direct threat to the Doha peace deal with US. Pakistan summons Indian diplomat to convey its rejection of India's baseless contention regarding the Supreme Court verdict on Gilgit-Baltistan. The Foreign Office said Indian claim over Gilgit-Baltistan cannot cover up atrocities being committed in the occupied valley. The statement said New Delhi would not succeed in diverting the world's attention from its state terrorism in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Foreign Office said it was clearly conveyed that New Delhi's claim over occupied Kashmir as an integral part of India had no legal basis. It said the Indian diplomat was told the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir is a disputed territory and is recognized as such by the international community. It was underscored that the only resolution of the Kashmir dispute was faithful implementation of UNSC resolutions. Islamabad said, pending the resolution of the dispute, any unilateral Indian actions in the occupied valley were illegal. Meanwhile, the Indian government has refused to share details of the PM CARES Fund for COVID-19 formed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On March 28th, Modi announced this fund, although his government had already formed a relief fund for the pandemic. In addition, the PMO has also refused to make public details of high-level meetings on COVID-19 and on the decision to implement a lockdown. It also declined to reveal correspondence between the Ministry of Health and the PMO in this regard and files related to COVID-19 testing. The office says the application contains multiple requests on numerous and varied topics, as a result of which the information could not be provided. The government asked the applicant to submit separate requests for the questions he asked in his RTI query. Iran says the US efforts to extend arms embargo on Tehran are illegitimate. The Foreign Ministry's statement comes after US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's attempt to push arms sanction on Iran indefinitely. In a televised news conference, Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Mousavi said Iran's reaction to America's illegal measures will be firm. He said Tehran is not seeking to exit the 2015 nuclear deal, while Washington is not a member of the deal anymore. Iran has gradually rolled back its commitments under the accord since the United States quit. The global number of cases from the new coronavirus has crossed 3.5 million, killing over 247,000 people. In the past 24 hours, more than 1,100 people have died in the US, with 67,682 total deaths. More in this report.
The daily rate of new coronavirus cases worldwide has been sitting in a 2% to 3% range over the past week versus a peak of around 13% in mid-March. This is prompting many countries to begin easing lockdown measures that have upended businesses and crippled the global economy. US President Donald Trump says up to 100,000 Americans could die in the pandemic, but said he wants to get the country back on track.
We have to get our country back. We have to get the world back. We want to have, if we have a stadium in Alabama that holds 110,000 people against LSU, I went there. We want to have 110,000. We don't want to have 25,000 people or 40,000 people, and that'll happen. Maybe it's going to be a vaccine, or maybe it's going to be that this virus will pass. It will go.
Australia, Malaysia, and India are among countries that have eased their lockdown. France, Italy, and Spain have registered the lowest daily death tolls, and they are also preparing to ease restrictions. New Zealand has reported no new infections, marking the first time the country has recorded 0 cases since its outbreak took hold in mid-March. However, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern asked citizens to stay the course on social restrictions still in place to contain the coronavirus.
Stay the course. We cannot afford to squander the good work to date when our end goal is so close and within reach. Next Monday, we will make the decision on whether or not we will move to alert level 2. That day represents the end of a 2-week life cycle, as it were, a period of transmission of the virus.
Meanwhile, Russia has recorded its highest surge in infections over the past 24 hours, with 10,000 new infections in a day.
Now, China has refuted U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's accusation that COVID-19 was originated in a laboratory in Wuhan and called for evidence. State media said the Trump administration continues to engage in unprecedented propaganda warfare. It said the U.S. administration is also trying to impede global efforts in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier in an interview, Pompeo accused the Chinese government of stonewalling any investigations and refusing to cooperate with experts. But he did not dispute U.S. intelligence agencies' conclusion the virus was not man-made or genetically modified. Meanwhile, Britain's Defense Secretary said China has questions to answer over the information it shared about the outbreak. But in an interview, Ben Wallace said a post-mortem over Beijing's role should come later. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will produce a coronavirus vaccine by the end of this year. In an interview, President Trump said several pharmaceutical companies are close to developing the vaccine. More details in this report.
As the coronavirus continues to spread around the world, teams of experts are scrambling to develop a vaccine to protect millions of people from infection. According to experts, finding a vaccine is a collaborative effort and is expected to take around 12 to 18 months. But Trump said his administration is putting hard to develop a cure. He called the work Gilead Sciences is doing on remdesivir as an example of a potential game changer.
We are very confident that we're going to have a vaccine at the end of the year. By the end of the year, have a vaccine.
Meanwhile, Australia's new National Science Agency says it is testing 2 potential vaccines on animals to protect humans from the deadly virus.
The cells in the lung of the ferret have proteins on their surface which are very, very similar to humans. So it seems that viruses that infect the human lung also seem to infect the ferret lung.
In UK, a new drug developed by scientists to treat COVID-19 patient is being trialled at University Hospital Southampton. The drug uses a protein called interferon beta, which bodies produce during a viral infection.
In another news, 37 more personnel of the Indian Border Security Force have tested positive for coronavirus, taking the total number of cases to 54. The Health Ministry has recorded nearly 1,400 deaths and over 42,500 infections in the country. In a statement, the forces said fresh cases were reported from a unit of the 126th Battalion in Delhi and from Tripura. It said the unit has a total of 94 personnel and 5 test reports are awaited. Earlier, 20 officers from the Indian Navy contracted the virus while on duty. Pakistan has recorded its highest number of new infections in a day. 1,086 people were infected overnight, taking the total number of cases to over 21,000. The Health Ministry says 22 more people have died and the death toll now stands at 462. Officials said there are over 7,500 cases in Punjab, over 7,400 in Sindh, more than 3,100 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Meanwhile, 1,218 cases have been recorded in Balochistan and 415 in Islamabad. Overall, nearly 5,600 people have recovered across the country. The ministry says more than 21,000 tests have been conducted with over 9,500 in the last 24 hours. In the context of Pakistan's Engage Africa policy, Prime Minister Imran Khan has stressed on the importance of better ties with Ethiopia. Khan said this during a phone conversation with his Ethiopian counterpart Abiy Ahmed Ali. He also expressed solidarity with the government and people of Ethiopia. Khan also commended their efforts to control the spread of COVID-19. The Prime Minister underscored that developing countries face the twin challenges of containing the disease and starving of hunger due to loss of livelihoods. Khan reiterated his invitation to Prime Minister Abiy to visit Pakistan at the earliest convenience. 14 people have been killed in armed attacks in Nigeria's southeastern region. Officials said 10 people were killed in Ebonyi State, while 4 others were targeted in Boruku village. Police say the attackers are yet to be identified. They said 6 others were kidnapped from the northwestern city of Kaduna. Criminals have stepped up raids and kidnappings in communities in Nigeria's northwest and north central states since 2019. The African Union has come under attack by some militant groups, including Boko Haram, in recent years. In Libya, the UN-recognized Government of National Accord says it has conducted 3 airstrikes against Khalifa Haftar's forces at Al-Watia Air Base near Tripoli. The GNA's military spokesman said the operation targeted Haftar's forces and military ammunition. He said the government forces carried out operations against Haftar's forces in the southern and southwestern regions of the capital. The spokesman said the Libyan army has destroyed a military vehicle near the Tripoli airport by shooting a mortar. Earlier, Ashraf al-Mayar, commander loyal to Haftar, announced his loyalty to the GNA in a video posted on social media. In Egypt, the military says that 126 suspected militants have been killed in operations in the Sinai Peninsula recently. It said 15 of its men have died or been wounded. The statement came 3 days after the military said 10 personnel were killed or wounded in an attack near Bir al-Abd. ISIS had claimed the attack. The Interior Ministry later said 18 suspected militants were killed in a shootout near Bir al-Bayt. Egypt has experienced a spate of militant attacks since the army's ouster of President Mohamed Morsi in 2013. The UK government has drafted a plan to ease lockdown measures and allow workplaces to reopen. Reduced hot desking and alternatives to social distancing where it is not possible are among measures being considered. Prime Minister Boris Johnson plans to reveal his roadmap out of lockdown on Sunday. The plan urges employers to minimize numbers using equipment, stagger shift times, and maximize work from home. It recommends hygiene procedures, physical screens, and use of protective equipment where 6 feet distancing is impossible. Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove assured there will be phased approach which allows the government to monitor the impact of easing restrictions. We're taking a short break, but stay tuned for more news. Welcome back. Health authorities in several Muslim countries confirm more cases and related deaths due to the novel coronavirus. Jordan has become one of the first countries of the region to lift all curbs on economic activity.
Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Health announced 8 deaths from coronavirus and 1,500 new cases. A total of 27,000 cases of the virus have been recorded in the kingdom, with 184 deaths. The UAE registered 564 new infections, 99 recoveries, and 7 deaths. Bahrain recorded 72 more cases and 149 recoveries. The Egyptian Health Ministry announced 272 new cases and 14 deaths on Sunday. Oman's tally of cases has reached over 2,568 after recording 85 new cases. Meanwhile, the death toll in Turkey has risen to 3,397 as 61 more people have died. Ankara's health ministry said the total number of cases jumped to 126,045 with 1,600 new infections. The Interior Ministry says countrywide restrictions will be evaluated at a cabinet meeting to be chaired by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Venezuela's government says it killed 8 people and arrested 2 during a foiled marine incursion. Interior Minister Nestor Everol said the mercenaries were attempting to enter the country from Colombia. In a televised address, he said the group landed on a beach in the port city of La Guaira on speedboats. Everol said the mercenaries planned to assassinate leaders of the government and create chaos. Venezuela's opposition has dismissed the allegations, saying the apparent incursion was staged, while Colombia's government has rejected any link to the incident. The Venezuelan military was on a heightened level of alert after foiling the attack. As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, cinemas across Iran have been closed. but film fans in Tehran are now able to enjoy screenings at a drive-in cinema. Let's find out more about this in this report.
Iran's health ministry says the trajectory of coronavirus infections has started a gradual downward trend. The country has begun to ease restrictions with plan to reopen mosques and schools in areas that have been consistently free of the virus. After months cooped up inside, Iranians can now watch movies at a drive-through cinema in the capital's Milad Tower complex.
Due to coronavirus spread, the cinema industry has suffered a lot, and it should be a little bit more developed by holding such a ceremony. And with these programs, the cinema will survive.
Social distancing rules still apply with only 2 people allowed per car, and all cars are disinfected on entry. Some attend for the drive-in experience, while others take the opportunity to see friends following weeks of lockdown across the country.
It feels good after 2 months of quarantine and staying at home because we were depressed. This program became an excuse to hang out with our friends and to prove that we can have a normal life and be present in society while maintaining our health.
Iran has already lifted a ban on intercity trips and malls, with large shopping centers resuming activities despite warnings by some health officials of a new wave of infections.
US President Donald Trump has threatened to terminate Phase 1 trade deal if China fails to buy $200 billion of additional American goods and services. Trump stirred up a trade war threat during a virtual town hall from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington. Trump said China's President Xi Jinping only agreed to the deal due to trade tariffs imposed by Washington. He said tariffs have become, at a minimum, the greatest negotiating tool ever devised that were never used before. Phase 1 deal between the US and China ended tariffs on about $155 billion worth of Chinese imports. In exchange, China pledged to buy over 2 years at least $200 billion of additional American goods and services than it did in 2017. Due to COVID-19, China's ability to make purchases has been significantly damaged, which led to the country's first economic contraction since 1987. European stock markets are trading lower as fears grow over rising tensions between the United States and China. Market sentiments dampened after US President Donald Trump threatened to impose tariffs on China.
CAC 40 in Paris is trading nearly 4% lower, while Frankfurt's DAX has lost over 3% after industrial conglomerate ThyssenKrupp plunged over 14%. London's FTSE 100 is trading fractionally lower. In Asia, India's Nifty 50 led the losses, closing nearly 6% lower. Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost over 4% after shares of the Chinese tech giant Tencent fell over 4%. Seoul's Kospi traded nearly 3% lower. Meanwhile, international benchmark Brent crude oil price has plunged more than 7% over trade war fears between.
Now let's look at the weather from around the globe. This is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.